Long before the pyramids, long before the myths of Greece and Rome, there were stories, carved into clay tablets, of beings known as the Anunnaki. Some called them gods, others whispered they came from the stars. Tonight, as you close your eyes and prepare for rest, I'll take you on a journey through their entire story, from the ancient temples of Sumer to the mysteries of creation to forgotten legends that echo through time. But before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss another timeless story to fall asleep to. Now, let your mind drift, your body relax, and together, we'll begin the journey into the world of the Anunnaki. In the silence before memory, before the first cities and the first kings, before the rising of temples or the shaping of laws, there was only the vastness. The heavens stretched above, endless, dark, and full of unspoken promise. The earth lay below, quiet, still, waiting for life to awaken. Between them, in that timeless silence, the story of the Anunnaki first began. Long ago, the ancient Sumerians carved their tales into clay tablets, pressing delicate lines of cuneiform with patient hands. Those tablets tell us of a world unlike our own, a world where gods and mortals shared the same breath, where the night sky was not distant, but alive with presence. In their stories, the heavens and earth were once joined, and the beings we call the Anunnaki walked freely between both realms. The word Anunnaki itself carried power. To the Sumerians, it meant the great assembly, the children of the sky father, Anu. They were the judges of fate, the shapers of rivers, the keepers of harvest, the lords of storm and wisdom. Some resided above in the constellations, glimmering as lights in the velvet night. Others walked upon the earth, their steps echoing in the reed marshes along the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. At the heart of all was Anu, the great father of the heavens. Remote, lofty, and vast, he looked down from the highest sky. Beneath him was Enlil, the lord of air and storms, master of destiny, who carried the power to grant kingship and to sweep away what no longer served. And beside them stood Enki, the wise, keeper of waters, knowledge, and deep secrets. He was the one who whispered understanding to humankind, teaching them the arts of writing, building, and living in harmony with the rivers. But these three were not alone. The Anunnaki were many, countless as the stars themselves. They formed a great council, each with a role, each with a voice in the weaving of fate. Some governed fertility, others the fields, others the mysteries of the underworld. Together, they shaped the tapestry of existence, binding heaven, earth, and the lives of mortals into a single rhythm. Imagine now the land of Sumer in those ancient days. The rivers coiled like silver serpents through fertile soil, carrying life to the plains. The reeds whispered in the wind, and the water shimmered beneath the moon. The first villages stirred with the warmth of hearth fires, and the smell of bread baking drifted across the night air. People looked upward, beyond the clouds, and in the gleaming constellations they saw not empty light, but the faces of their gods, the Anunnaki. The people built temples of mud brick, rising step by step like mountains shaped by human hands. These ziggurats reached upward toward the sky, bridges between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. Within their shadow, hymns were sung, drums beat in slow rhythms, and offerings of grain, fruit, and water were laid before sacred fires. To honor the Anunnaki was to honor the very forces that sustained life. The tablets whisper that, in the earliest days, the boundaries between divine and mortal were not yet fixed. The gods walked openly, descending from the heavens on beams of light, entering the temples, and moving among the people. Their voices were thunder, their presence like fire, and yet they brought with them the gifts of order. From them came the wisdom of farming, the shaping of canals, the measuring of time, and the guiding of kings. And so, the rhythm of life began. By day, men worked the fields and shaped the clay. By night, they looked to the sky, where the Anunnaki glittered among the stars. Each star was not only a light, but a memory, a story, a reminder that the gods watched from above. But the story of beginnings is also the story of separation. For though the heavens and earth were once one, the tablets tell of a moment when they were torn apart. The sky rose higher, the earth sank lower, and the gulf between gods and mortals widened. It was Enlil, the storm lord, who carried out the separation, dividing heaven from earth, establishing order and destiny. Anu remained in the highest heaven, Enlil took command of the earth and the air, and Enki descended to the waters below, guiding the secret currents of wisdom. This division shaped the world as we know it. From that moment, the Anunnaki no longer walked as freely among mortals. Their presence was felt through temples, dreams, and omens, rather than open footsteps on the earth. And yet, the bond remained, strong as the rivers that fed the land. The first kings rose beneath their gaze. The tablets speak of Eridu, the first city, built near the marshes where Enki himself was honored. They speak of Uruk, where the great walls rose under the eyes of Inanna, goddess of love and war, one of the mighty Anunnaki. They speak of Nippur, where Enlil's temple towered above all, a place of destiny where kingship itself was granted. Each city was more than stone and clay. It was a link between humankind and the gods who watched from the heavens. The Sumerians did not see themselves as separate from the Anunnaki. They believed they were created to serve, to tend the fields, to build the temples, to bring order into the world alongside the gods. To them, service was not bondage but purpose, a role in the great cosmic design. And at night, when the fires dimmed and the stars gleamed brighter, the people rested with the assurance that they were not alone. Even now, thousands of years later, as we speak of them, their names linger in the silence. Anu, Enlil, Enki, Inanna, Ninhursag, names carved into clay, preserved in sand, carried across time. Their voices may be faint, their temples long fallen, but the story of the Anunnaki has not vanished. It lingers, like starlight from a distant sun, reaching us softly, gently, across the vastness of time. And so, as you drift toward sleep, imagine yourself standing beneath the Sumerian sky. The air is warm, carrying the scent of the river. The reeds sway, and the hum of insects rises like a soft chorus. Above you, the stars burn bright, countless as the Anunnaki themselves. You feel small, yet part of something greater, as if the very heavens bend down to watch. In this moment, the past and the present blur, and the story begins again. The Anunnaki are waiting, their tale unfolding, their mysteries stretching out like the rivers of Mesopotamia. Close your eyes now, breathe softly, and let the story carry you deeper into their world. For this is only the beginning. In the soft glow of dawn, when the first light of the sun touched the reeds of the rivers, the people of Sumer believed that the Anunnaki gathered in council. Just as kings and priests met in their halls to decide the fate of their cities, so too did the gods assemble in the high heavens and the deep underworld. Theirs was a council of power, a gathering of voices that stretched across the cosmos. The old tablets speak of this assembly, a vast company that met in the presence of Anu, the Sky Father. Imagine the scene. Above the mortal world, in the radiant halls of heaven, the Anunnaki took their places. Some stood tall, radiant as fire, others cloaked themselves in mystery, shadows deep as the underworld itself. The air shimmered with their presence, a harmony of voices both thunderous and soft, carrying decisions that would shape the destinies of nations and kings. At the head of the council was Anu, silent and eternal, the father of the gods. He did not speak often, but when his voice was heard, it echoed through the heavens like the sound of creation itself. Below him sat Enlil, lord of storms and air, stern and commanding. It was Enlil who carried the responsibility of order, of separating heaven from earth, of giving weight to law and destiny. His judgments were swift, his will unbending. Beside him stood Enki, the wise one, whose laughter rippled like water and whose eyes held secrets older than the earth. He was the keeper of deep wisdom, of rivers and seas, of the mysteries of life itself. While Enlil's commands were heavy and sharp, Enki's counsel was gentle, guiding, and filled with cleverness. Between them, balance was kept, law and wisdom, storm and water, order and adaptation. But the council was not only theirs. There was Inanna, radiant and fierce, goddess of love and war. Her presence filled the hall like fire, unpredictable, passionate, at once tender and terrifying. There was Ninhursag, mother of the earth, gentle yet firm, the nourisher of crops and the midwife of creation. There were countless others. Utu the sun, Nanna the moon, Ereshkigal of the underworld, and gods whose names have been worn away by time but who once stood tall among the assembly. When the Anunnaki gathered, they spoke of the world below, of rivers and cities, of kings and wars, of droughts and harvests. They shaped destinies as a potter shapes clay, deciding who would rise and who would fall. The people of Sumer believed that even their dreams were touched by these councils, for what was decreed above was lived out below. The tablets of destiny were said to lie before them, etched with the decrees of heaven. Whoever held them wielded authority over the cosmos itself. They were not merely symbols, but living records of fate, binding gods and mortals alike. To hold them was to speak with the voice of inevitability. And so, the council guarded them fiercely, for to lose them was to risk chaos. Among their many stories, the Atrahasis tale lingers like an echo of memory. It is said that in the earliest days the younger gods toiled upon the earth. They dug canals, raised embankments, and labored endlessly to bring order to the land. But the burden was heavy, and their cries of exhaustion rose to the heavens. They rebelled, casting aside their tools, demanding relief. The council convened. Anu presided, Enlil raged, and Enki listened with quiet thought. Enlil wished to silence the younger gods, to bind them again to their work. But Enki, wise and compassionate, offered another path. "Let us create helpers," he whispered, "beings who will share the burden of labor, who will tend the fields and canals, who will honor us with offerings." Thus, the idea of humankind was born, not as rulers, but as servants, woven into the very fabric of destiny. Ninhursag, the mother, shaped them from clay, and Enki breathed wisdom into their form. The people were born fragile yet enduring, capable of toil yet gifted with song and story. And in their hearts, the spark of the divine flickered, for they were made with the essence of gods. The council watched as humankind spread across the plains, raising villages, then cities, then temples. Smoke rose from hearths, songs drifted into the night, and offerings filled the shrines. For a time, harmony existed. The younger gods rested, their burdens lifted, while humans labored with devotion, believing their work was service not only to themselves but to the great Anunnaki above. But peace is rarely eternal. In time, the voices of humankind grew loud, their numbers multiplying, their songs rising in endless chorus. The earth trembled with their presence, and Enlil, Lord of Destiny, grew restless. The noise of humankind, he declared, was a burden upon the heavens. He wished to silence them, to thin their numbers, to remind them of their place. The council gathered again. Enlil's fury thundered like a storm, while Enki's counsel flowed like calm water. Enki saw in humankind not a burden but a promise, a reflection of the gods themselves. He whispered in dreams, guided in shadows, seeking ways to protect them. For though humankind was small, their hearts carried a spark that even the gods could not ignore. Thus began the first tensions between storm and water, between command and compassion. The council of the Anunnaki was not always united, for even gods held desires and fears, pride and longing. Their decisions shaped the fate of worlds, and in those decisions, humankind found both peril and protection. To the people of Sumer, these stories were not distant myths. They were truths woven into daily life. When the rains fell and the rivers swelled, they said Enlil had spoken. When wisdom guided kings, they said Enki had whispered. When love and war danced through the streets, they said Inanna had walked among them. Every harvest, every drought, every dream was a reflection of the council's will. And so, beneath the star-filled sky, the people built their cities stronger, their temples higher, their songs louder. They lit fires in honor of the Anunnaki, believing that each flame reached the council above. And as they slept, they dreamed of gods who argued, who decreed, who loved, and who remembered them. Close your eyes now, and imagine the council's hall, vast as the heavens, shining with fire and shadow. Hear the voices of the gods, thunderous and soft, deciding fates that ripple across eternity. You are there, standing quietly, a mortal in the company of immortals. Their eyes glance toward you, not with cruelty, but with the weight of endless ages. For you too are part of their story, a thread in the tapestry they weave. The council fades into silence. The stars burn softly above. The rivers flow. And the story of the Anunnaki continues, ever onward, ever deeper, waiting for the next dawn. In the quiet hours before dawn, when the first light brushed the river reeds and the air was still, the Anunnaki watched the world below. Their gaze rested upon humankind, who had grown and multiplied, tending fields, raising villages, and offering songs to the gods. Yet even among the immortals, all was not calm. Discord whispered through the heavens, subtle as a wind over water, and the threads of fate twisted and turned under their fingers. Among the Anunnaki, Inanna stood radiant, her brilliance unmatched, her presence like fire on the horizon. She moved with purpose, fierce and tender, her heart a mix of love for the world and desire for glory. She saw the humans as more than servants. She saw their potential, their dreams, their spark of divinity. Inanna wished to guide them, to challenge them, to lift them higher than ever before. Enlil, the Lord of Storms, however, saw danger in their growth. They grow too numerous, too bold, he warned in the great halls of the council. Their voices rise to the heavens. Their hands reshape the land. They forget the order we have given them. We must remind them of their place. Enki, keeper of wisdom and water, spoke softly, yet his words carried the weight of rivers and seas. Humankind is fragile, yet gifted, he said. They carry the spark of creation within them. To crush them would be to snuff out a part of ourselves. And so the council argued, voices echoing through the heavens, weaving tension and harmony, judgment and compassion, like the currents of a great river. The Anunnaki had ruled the world for ages, shaping the destiny of mortals. Yet here was a moment that tested even their unity. In the midst of this, humans were unaware of the full scope of divine deliberation. Yet they felt its effects. Droughts fell upon the fields, floods surged in the rivers, and the winds shifted suddenly. Some whispered that the gods were angry, while others believed that unseen hands were guiding their crops, their cities, and their fates. It was during such a time that a hero arose among mortals, a man whose story would echo through generations. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, strong and ambitious, yet with a heart that sought meaning beyond conquest. The tablets speak of his courage, his curiosity, and his longing for immortality. In the quiet hours of night, when stars glimmered like the eyes of the Anunnaki themselves, Gilgamesh dreamed of the heavens, of gods and heroes, of life beyond the borders of earth and river. Inanna watched him closely. She saw in Gilgamesh the reflection of divine ambition, the blend of mortal courage and divine spark. She whispered guidance into his dreams, shaping his journey, encouraging him to seek knowledge, to understand the truths of life and death. Her influence was subtle, a flicker of light in the dark, guiding him toward quests that would test his heart and mind. Enlil, observing from his high seat, grew impatient. "Why do you aid them?" he asked Enki, the voice like distant thunder. "They are mortal. They will never withstand the trials of eternity. Yet you strengthen them, teach them, elevate them beyond their measure." Enki smiled, a glimmer of water in his eyes. "Because they carry the seed of wisdom," he said. "Because even mortals, in their brief lives, can reflect the eternal. They are a mirror of our own creation, a reminder of what we are and what we can give." And so, the council's subtle quarrels played out over the fates of mortals. Inanna guided, Enki counseled, and Enlil's storms reminded the humans of the power above. It was a delicate balance, a dance of forces both gentle and fierce, shaping the course of history while remaining invisible to all but the most attuned eyes. Gilgamesh's quests led him far from Uruk, through forests, deserts, and mountains. He encountered creatures of legend, tests of courage, and riddles of the mind. He sought the secret of life itself, the meaning of existence, and the way to leave a mark upon the world that would endure beyond mortality. In his journey, he met the immortal Utnapishtim, survivor of the Great Flood, who revealed the story of the gods' decisions, the deluge that reshaped the world, and the wisdom that life itself demanded. The flood, a punishment decreed by Enlil, had been meant to remind mortals of their place, to reset the balance between gods and humans, to remind the earth of the weight of divine will. Yet through Enki's cunning, life was preserved. Seeds of humans and animals were hidden, ensuring that creation continued, that hope endured, that wisdom and knowledge would survive even the wrath of the heavens. It is said that in the aftermath, the Anunnaki observed quietly. They saw how humans learned, adapted, and remembered. Temples rose again, more magnificent than before. Kings ruled with care, priests taught the ways of ritual, and humans sang songs that celebrated both their toil and their survival. The Anunnaki, too, learned from the unfolding events. Even immortals could see the resilience of mortal hearts, the strength in fleeting life, the spark that mirrors the eternal. As Gilgamesh aged, he realized that immortality was not granted to mortals. Yet he understood that through deeds, stories, and wisdom, one could touch eternity. His city thrived, his people flourished, and his journey became legend. The Anunnaki watched, sometimes guiding, sometimes allowing the course of fate to unfold, always shaping, always observing. In the stillness of night, beneath the stars that had witnessed the rise of kings and the deliberations of gods, humans dreamed of the Anunnaki. They imagined the council, the halls of light, the voices of power, and the wisdom that flowed from them. And in those dreams, the stories passed from one generation to another, softly, like whispers on the wind. The Anunnaki's trials were not always visible. Their guidance came as inspiration, their judgments as storms or floods, their wisdom as rivers and fertile soil. They were distant yet near, unknowable yet intimately tied to the lives of mortals. And the humans, in return, honored them, remembered them, and carried their tales forward into the tapestry of time. Close your eyes now, and imagine the council once more. Hear the voices of Inanna, Enlil, Enki, and all the Anunnaki echoing through the heavens. Feel the pulse of life in every river, every field, every song. You are part of the story, a quiet witness to the trials, the guidance, and the enduring connection between gods and humans. And as the night deepens, let the tale carry you onward, into dreams where gods and mortals walk together, where legends are born, and where the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly before you. In the soft stillness of dawn, when mist rose gently from the rivers and the earth hummed with quiet life, Enki, keeper of waters and wisdom, moved thoughtfully among the heavens. His eyes, deep as the rivers themselves, reflected both compassion and cunning. He observed humankind below, their hands shaping clay, their minds seeking understanding, and he felt the stirrings of possibility. For in the hearts of mortals lay the spark of creativity, the whisper of knowledge, the seed of civilization itself. The Anunnaki had gathered, as they often did, in the great halls of the sky. Anu remained silent, observing. Enlil, as always, was stern, concerned with order, balance, and the weight of destiny. Inanna's fire danced brightly, urging ambition and courage among humans. And Enki, calm and patient, carried the responsibility of nurturing wisdom, ensuring that life could thrive even amidst the edicts of fate. He pondered the needs of humankind. The early villages were fragile. The canals needed tending, the fields required knowledge of seasons, the cities demanded careful planning. Without guidance, the mortals might falter, their fragile existence undone by the unpredictable forces of nature and the will of the gods. And so Enki devised gifts, subtle and profound. He whispered secrets to the humans, appearing in dreams and visions, teaching them the arts of irrigation, the shaping of bricks, the building of walls, and the measurement of time. He guided the hands of the first architects, the first farmers, the first scribes. Slowly, civilization began to bloom along the Tigris and Euphrates, each city a testament to divine guidance and mortal effort intertwined. Eridu, the first city, rose from the marshes. Its streets were lined with reeds, its temples reached toward the sky, and its people worked in harmony with the rhythms of river and field. Enki's influence was present in every canal, every grain stored, every song sung in gratitude for the life-giving waters. The Anunnaki watched silently, their presence felt but unseen, guiding without dominating, shaping without forcing. Yet the balance of power among the gods was delicate. Enlil often frowned upon the rising power of human ingenuity. They grow bold, he warned, too clever for their place. Their cities rise higher than some temples. They believe they can measure what should remain beyond understanding. Inanna, ever passionate, countered, "Let them rise. Let them learn. The spark of divinity is within them. We should encourage it, not extinguish it. In their courage they honor us." And so the council's deliberations continued, subtle and unending, shaping the mortal world in ways both visible and unseen. Enki, understanding the careful balance needed, often acted quietly, guiding humans while maintaining the harmony among gods. It was during this time that humans began to record knowledge. Clay tablets, inscribed with cuneiform, captured the wisdom Enki imparted, the cycles of planting and harvest, the movement of stars and rivers, the stories of gods and heroes. Writing became more than communication. It became a vessel for understanding, a bridge between human curiosity and divine insight. In this way, the first libraries were born, and with them, the first memory of civilization. The gifts of Enki did not end with practical knowledge. He inspired the arts, encouraging music, poetry, and storytelling. The people sang hymns to the Anunnaki, but also sang of their own triumphs and fears. Through these songs, the stories of the gods were woven into daily life, and the spark of human creativity shone brighter with each generation. Yet even as humans flourished, the Anunnaki faced challenges. Enlil remained watchful, concerned that mortal ambition might disrupt the order of the world. Disputes among the gods were subtle, whispered across the halls of the heavens, yet their consequences rippled below. Enki's teachings sometimes clashed with Enlil's commands. Inanna's encouragement of human courage sometimes led to rebellion or defiance. And through it all, humanity grew, learning to navigate the complex interplay of divine guidance and mortal decision. The tablets speak of moments when the gods intervened directly. Storms swept through fields to remind humans of Enlil's authority. Floods reshaped the land, altering rivers and cities. Yet Enki often found ways to mitigate the harshness, to preserve life, to ensure that the lessons of survival could be learned without destruction. Through this delicate interplay, the first civilizations matured, resilient and wise, capable of thriving even under the watchful gaze of the Anunnaki. And so the world began to take shape. Cities flourished along the riverbanks, each with its temples and canals. The people developed systems of law, codes of conduct, and methods of trade. They built ziggurats, reaching toward the heavens, symbolic bridges between mortal and divine. Through it all, the influence of Enki's wisdom was felt in the flowing waters, the careful planning of cities, and the enduring spirit of human innovation. The story of humankind's rise was inseparable from the presence of the Anunnaki. To the mortals, the gods were both protectors and enforcers, teachers and testers, distant yet intimately connected. And the Anunnaki, in turn, learned from the humans. Even immortals could see the ingenuity, courage, and resilience that emerged from fragile bodies and fleeting lives. In the quiet of night, beneath the vast expanse of stars, humans dreamed of the gods who guided them. They sang songs of thanks, offered gifts at the altars, and recorded their stories on clay. Each tablet, each brick, each note of music became part of the living memory of civilization. The Anunnaki watched, sometimes intervening, sometimes allowing the course of life to unfold, always shaping, always observing. And so, as you close your eyes, imagine the rivers flowing gently beneath the stars, carrying the wisdom of Enki, the guidance of the gods, and the growing civilization of humankind. The canals glisten, the fields sway in rhythm with the wind, and the songs of mortals rise softly toward the heavens. You are part of this story, a quiet witness to the unfolding of creation, to the rise of cities, to the shaping of the human spirit by the hands of the Anunnaki. Let the gentle current of this tale carry you into dreams, where wisdom flows like water, cities rise like clay and reeds, and the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly before you, a tapestry of divine guidance and mortal endeavor, waiting to unfold further as the night deepens. In the quiet of dawn, when the mist still clung to the riverbanks and the reeds whispered to the wind, the world of humans and gods alike was alive with expectation. The Anunnaki, watching from the heavens, observed the progress of civilization and the courage of mortals with keen eyes. Among them, Inanna, radiant and fierce, moved with purpose, her mind and heart full of passion for both the divine and the mortal realms. Inanna's gaze often lingered on the mortals, particularly those who showed courage, ambition, and the spark of greatness. She admired the growing cities, the rising temples, and the efforts of humans to reach beyond their ordinary lives. Yet she was restless, longing for challenges, both for herself and for those she guided. She understood that growth required trials, that courage and wisdom were forged in adversity. The council of the Anunnaki was never without debate. Enlil, lord of storms and fate, watched the mortals with caution. "They grow bold," he said to the others, his voice like distant thunder. "They push against the order we have established. Their pride swells, and in it lies danger." Enki, keeper of wisdom, spoke gently but firmly. "Their strength is part of the pattern. They are not meant to remain small forever. Guidance, yes, but restraint too. Let them learn, let them grow, and let them face the trials that will shape their destiny." Inanna smiled knowingly. "Then let us provide them with trials," she said. "Not to destroy, but to awaken. Only through challenge do mortals find the courage to act beyond their limits, to reach for the extraordinary." And so, the first epic of heroes began. Among humans, there arose men and women who dared to test the boundaries of mortal life. They ventured into the wilderness, faced creatures of myth, and sought treasures and knowledge that had been hidden by the gods themselves. These early heroes carried the subtle guidance of Inanna in their hearts, even if they did not realize it, moving like shadows between destiny and courage. The rivers flowed with the tales of their exploits. Villages whispered of brave men who faced the lions of the plains, of women who crossed deserts to bring water and life to their people, of young ones who deciphered the mysteries of the stars. Each act of bravery, each clever solution, each selfless choice was a step in the growing tapestry of civilization, woven carefully by the hands of gods and mortals alike. Yet conflict was never far from the human world. As mortals rose in power, so too did the tension among the Anunnaki. Inanna's encouragement of bold action sometimes clashed with Enlil's desire for order. Disputes echoed across the heavens, subtle and unseen, yet their effects rippled through the mortal realm. Storms would sweep the plains, sudden droughts would appear, or rivers would overflow, all as reminders that the balance of power and responsibility rested between the gods and humanity. The epic tales grew, shaped both by mortal courage and divine influence. Gilgamesh, already a hero among men, embarked on new journeys, guided in secret by Inanna's whispers. He faced trials of strength and wisdom, seeking to understand not only the world of humans but the world of gods. His companions learned alongside him, facing creatures of legend, solving riddles set by the Anunnaki, and discovering the delicate harmony between ambition and humility. Through these stories, humans learned about the boundaries of life and the guidance of the divine. They discovered that courage alone was not enough. Wisdom, patience, and understanding of the unseen forces were equally vital. The Anunnaki's lessons were embedded in every challenge, every victory, and every failure. Inanna's presence, vibrant and fiery, inspired humans to act boldly, to challenge their fears, and to reach for heights previously thought unattainable. Enki, ever watchful, provided the tools and wisdom necessary to succeed, ensuring that knowledge and understanding were passed down through generations. Enlil's stern oversight reminded mortals that power and ambition carried responsibility, and that the world was governed by laws both seen and unseen. Even the mortal heroes began to influence the Anunnaki. The courage and creativity of humans reflected back to the gods, showing them the value of compassion, patience, and guidance. The interplay of divine and mortal action created a rhythm, a cycle in which each learned from the other, and in which the world itself grew richer and more complex with every passing year. Temples and cities expanded, fortified not only by stone but by knowledge and courage. Songs were composed to honor the deeds of heroes, and rituals celebrated the ongoing partnership between humans and gods. Each epic recounted the trials of mortals, the subtle guidance of the Anunnaki, and the lessons learned from the interaction of divine and mortal will. In the quiet moments of night, humans dreamed of the Anunnaki, imagining the fiery presence of Inanna, the wisdom of Enki, and the powerful authority of Enlil. They felt the echoes of divine voices in the rustle of reeds, the flow of rivers, and the shimmer of stars above. Through these dreams, the stories passed gently from one generation to another, creating a continuous tapestry of myth, wisdom, and guidance. As the world settled beneath the starry sky, the Anunnaki's influence remained ever-present yet subtle, a guiding hand on the shoulder of mortals who sought greatness. The epic tales continued, carrying lessons of courage, wisdom, and balance, reminding all who listened that the partnership between humans and gods was eternal, delicate, and infinitely rewarding. And so, as you drift toward sleep, Imagine the rivers of Sumer flowing gently beneath the stars, carrying the whispers of Inanna, the wisdom of Enki, and the stern guidance of Enlil. Picture the heroes walking the plains and forests, facing trials that shaped not only their lives but the world itself. Feel the quiet power of the Anunnaki guiding, observing, and nurturing as the story unfolds, carrying you deeper into dreams where gods and mortals walk together, and where the first epics of humanity continue to rise, bright and enduring, beneath the eternal heavens. In the stillness of night, when the rivers reflected the pale light of countless stars and the earth lay wrapped in quiet slumber, Enki, keeper of waters and wisdom, contemplated the progress of humankind. The first cities had risen, temples had been built, and knowledge had begun to flow like the rivers themselves. Yet he knew that mortals still lacked something vital, the deeper understanding of life, the ability to shape their own destinies, and the courage to face both mortal and divine challenges. Enki's mind wandered to the clay of the earth, the waters of the rivers, and the winds that swept across the plains. He envisioned new forms, gifts that could empower humans while preserving their fragile balance. From the fertile clay, he molded figures imbued with strength and intelligence. With his breath, he instilled understanding, curiosity, and a spark of the divine essence. These new creations were meant to be teachers, helpers, and companions for the growing civilizations, guiding mortals in ways subtle yet profound. The Anunnaki observed these actions with mixed feelings. Inanna, radiant and passionate, admired Enki's foresight. "They are ready," she said, "to learn more, to act boldly, to reach for greatness that reflects both mortals and gods." Enlil, lord of storms and law, frowned. "Do they not already test the balance of the world?" he asked. "Too many gifts, too much knowledge, and the mortal realm may spiral beyond control. The order of the heavens must be preserved." Enki, ever calm, replied, "Order is not preserved through suppression, but through guidance. Humans must learn to wield wisdom and strength. Only then can they fulfill their purpose and honor the Anunnaki." And so, the divine plan unfolded. Humans began to receive gifts that extended beyond agriculture and architecture. They learned the patterns of the stars, the secrets of the rivers, and the methods of healing. Artisans crafted tools with skill guided by whispers of divine inspiration. Scholars recorded the cycles of life, and storytellers preserved the myths of gods and heroes alike. The rivers of Sumer flowed with life, carrying boats laden with grain, clay, and knowledge. Temples rose higher, not just as monuments to gods, but as centers of learning and community. Festivals celebrated both the harvest and the divine gifts, as mortals and the unseen presence of the Anunnaki intertwined in daily life. Yet with every gift came new challenges. The more humans learned, the more they questioned. They asked, not out of defiance, but out of curiosity, about the nature of the gods, the meaning of creation, and the reasons behind divine decrees. These questions rippled across the heavens, reaching the ears of the Council of the Anunnaki. Inanna, always quick to embrace curiosity, encouraged dialogue. "They are learning," she said, "and with understanding comes growth. We must nurture them, not fear their questions." Enlil, cautious and ever protective of order, remained wary. Curiosity without restraint may lead to arrogance. Mortals must remember their place. The tension between divine guidance and mortal independence created subtle ripples throughout the world. Enki acted as a mediator, providing knowledge while maintaining the harmony of existence. He introduced ideas of mathematics, measurement, and early forms of law. Through these teachings, humans could plan their cities, predict the seasons, and record their histories. It was also during this time that new forms of life were introduced under Enki's careful watch. Creatures of the rivers, animals to assist in work and sustenance, and plants with healing properties were cultivated. Humans learned to cultivate and care for these gifts, further entwining their fate with the wisdom of the Anunnaki. Meanwhile, the council continued to meet in the heavens. Decisions about the world were debated, sometimes leading to disagreement among the gods. Inanna often pushed for greater empowerment of humans, while Enlil insisted on caution. Enki's voice guided the balance, ensuring that humanity grew strong, yet remained humble, capable, yet respectful of the divine order. The tablets speak of subtle interventions. When humans faltered, guidance appeared in dreams, whispers, and visions. When humans achieved greatness, they felt the unseen hands of gods, not controlling but inspiring. In this delicate interplay, the early civilizations flourished. The wisdom of Enki, the courage inspired by Inanna, and the order imposed by Enlil combined to create a thriving, balanced world. And so, as the night deepened, humans built monuments, cities, and canals. They recorded their stories and accomplishments on clay tablets. They learned to heal, to build, to navigate, and to honor the divine presence around them. The Anunnaki watched, proud and vigilant, guiding without imposing, nurturing without overwhelming, ensuring that the spark of humanity would continue to grow and shine. In the quiet moments of sleep, the mortals dreamed of the gods. They imagined the flowing waters, the whispering winds, and the shining stars, sensing the presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil. Through these dreams, knowledge passed silently, teaching lessons that would endure for generations. And so, the world of humans and gods continued to entwine, a tapestry of wisdom, courage, and divine influence. The creations of Enki, the inspiration of Inanna, and the oversight of Enlil ensured that civilization grew, not just in numbers, but in understanding, skill, and resilience. The story unfolded with patience and care, a gentle current carrying mortals toward their destiny, while the Anunnaki remained watchful, guiding the river of time with unseen hands and eternal wisdom. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the rivers flowing, the stars above shining softly, and the presence of the Anunnaki guiding every step. Enki's wisdom flows in every stream, Inanna's courage lights the path forward, and Enlil's order ensures that life continues in balance. Let the story carry you into dreams where the first cities rise, the first heroes venture, and the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. In the still hours before dawn, when the rivers reflected the pale light of countless stars and the cities below were wrapped in quiet slumber, the balance between gods and humans trembled. The Anunnaki, who had guided and nurtured mortals for generations, sensed the stirrings of change. Humanity had grown in strength, knowledge, and ambition, and with that growth came both promise and peril. Enlil, ever vigilant, observed the expanding cities and the rising influence of humans. "They grow too bold," he said to the council. They push beyond the boundaries we have set. They question our decrees, challenge our authority, and seek to reshape the world in ways that may unravel the order we have established. Inanna, radiant and fierce, countered his warning with passion. They are learning, evolving, and striving for greatness. Their courage and ambition reflect the spark of the divine within them. Let us guide them, not restrain them. Their growth is a testament to the gifts we have given. Enki, calm and wise, mediated between the two. Balance is delicate. We must nurture their strengths, temper their pride, and ensure that the lessons of creation continue to flow through them. They are our reflections, our creations, and their potential is boundless if guided with care. Yet even the gods could not fully predict the events that were about to unfold. Among humans, a great desire for expansion, wealth, and power had arisen. Cities grew larger, armies stronger, and leaders more ambitious. Mortals began to challenge not only each other but the invisible boundaries set by the Anunnaki. The delicate harmony between divine guidance and human initiative was tested as never before. It began with a dispute among humans over fertile land along the riverbanks. Villages clashed, kings demanded tribute, and warriors rose to defend their territories. The Anunnaki watched closely, knowing that human ambition could either forge new greatness or invite catastrophe. Enlil's storms reminded mortals of divine authority, while Enki's guidance helped them navigate the challenges with wisdom and skill. Inanna, observing with fiery interest, encouraged acts of bravery and ingenuity, shaping the path of heroes who would rise in response to the conflict. As the battles escalated, the first great epics of war and heroism emerged. Tales of kings, warriors, and strategists were passed down, recorded on clay tablets, and sung in the streets of Sumerian cities. The stories spoke of courage, sacrifice, and the delicate interplay between mortal ambition and divine oversight. Heroes emerged, guided by the subtle influence of the Anunnaki, their deeds shaping the future of civilizations. The conflict, though intense among humans, was mirrored in the heavens. Enlil's authority clashed with Inanna's encouragement of bold action, while Enki sought to maintain balance and ensure the survival of both mortals and the natural order. The council debated, sometimes in harmony, sometimes in discord, over the fate of the human world. Their decisions were subtle yet powerful, affecting weather, fertility, and the outcomes of battles. Through these divine interventions, humans learn to adapt, innovate, and persevere. Strategies were developed, cities fortified, and alliances formed. Mortals discovered new technologies in agriculture, construction, and warfare, inspired by the hidden guidance of the gods. The lessons of survival, leadership, and cooperation became embedded in the fabric of civilization, laying the foundations for future generations. Amidst the turmoil, the first laws were written, establishing codes of conduct that reflected both human understanding and divine principles. Temples became not only places of worship, but centers of learning, diplomacy, and governance. Priests and scholars interpreted the will of the gods, teaching the people to honor the Anunnaki while pursuing knowledge, skill, and justice. The epic of human struggle and divine guidance reached its climax with a great alliance of cities, led by kings who had learned to heed the subtle counsel of the Anunnaki. Through their courage, wisdom, and strategic planning, they achieved victories that secured the safety and prosperity of their people. The Anunnaki observed with satisfaction, recognizing that humanity had begun to fulfill its potential. Yet the balance remained delicate. The power of mortals continued to grow, and the gods' guidance had to be measured carefully. Too much interference could stifle creativity, too little could invite chaos. Enki's wisdom, Inanna's inspiration, and Enlil's authority maintained the harmony, allowing civilization to flourish while preserving the delicate relationship between humans and gods. In the quiet moments of night, the people of Sumer dreamed of the Anunnaki. They imagined the flowing rivers, the towering temples, and the radiant presence of the gods above. They felt the guidance of Enki, the courage inspired by Inanna, and the weight of Enlil's authority. These dreams carried wisdom, courage, and understanding, shaping the hearts and minds of generations to come. And so, as the stars shone over the cities, the rivers, and the fields, humanity continued its journey. Guided by the Anunnaki, challenged by their own ambitions, and inspired by the stories of heroes, mortals learned the delicate balance between power and responsibility, courage and humility, ambition and wisdom. The first great conflict had passed, but its lessons endured, shaping the future of civilization and the unfolding story of the Anunnaki. As you close your eyes, imagine the battlefields quiet, the rivers flowing gently, and the temples standing tall beneath the stars. Picture the gods watching, guiding, and nurturing, ensuring that humanity continues to grow, learn, and flourish. Let the tale carry you into dreams where the first epics of war and heroism unfold, and where the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly, a tapestry of divine guidance and mortal courage waiting to be explored further. As dawn's first light kissed the rivers and the reeds swayed gently in the breeze, the world below began to stir once more. The great conflicts among humans had subsided, leaving behind stories, lessons, and monuments. Cities, though scarred by the past, had begun to flourish anew. From the ashes of chaos rose a new understanding, a civilization shaped both by human courage and the guidance of the Anunnaki. The council of the gods convened in the high halls of the heavens. Enlil, lord of storms and destiny, observed the renewed world with measured eyes. "They have endured," he said. "They have faced trials that could have undone them. And yet, they continue to grow." Inanna, radiant and fierce, smiled. "They have learned courage, strategy, and wisdom. They honor the gods, yet act with initiative. Their hearts carry fire, and their minds carry questions. It is the perfect time for them to embrace new knowledge and new ways of living." Enki, calm and thoughtful, nodded. "The foundation of civilization is secure. Agriculture, law, writing, and city planning are established. But the people are ready for more. They are ready for guidance in morality, belief, and understanding of the divine." Thus, the Anunnaki devised new ways to influence humanity. Priests, scribes, and sages emerged in the cities, acting as intermediaries between mortals and the divine. Temples became not only places of worship but centers of learning, where knowledge of the stars, medicine, and law was passed down. Religious rituals were refined, aligning human practice with the cosmic order envisioned by the gods. Humans learned to honor the Anunnaki not only through offerings but through living in accordance with principles taught subtly by the gods. Concepts of justice, balance, and moral responsibility were introduced, encoded in stories, proverbs, and ceremonial practices. Each festival, each prayer, carried a message, a subtle reminder of the divine presence and the responsibilities that accompanied human freedom. Yet the Anunnaki were not passive observers. Their influence remained subtle but powerful. When floods threatened the rivers, Enki guided humans to build dikes and canals. When conflicts arose between cities, Inanna inspired diplomacy, courage, and negotiation. Enlil reminded humans of order and restraint, ensuring that the lessons of past trials were never forgotten. In these times, heroes continued to rise among humans. They were warriors, architects, scholars, and healers, individuals whose courage and wisdom reflected the divine spark within. Their deeds became legend, recorded on tablets and passed down through generations, each story a lesson, each action a thread in the fabric of civilization. The Anunnaki also continued their celestial councils, discussing the balance between guidance and freedom. We have given them wisdom, yet not absolute control, Enki observed. This is crucial. Mortals must grow, yet remain humble before the vastness of creation. Inanna's eyes gleamed, and as they grow, they inspire us as well. Their courage and ingenuity are reflections of our own essence. The bond between gods and humans strengthens through this exchange. Even in the quiet of night, the influence of the Anunnaki could be felt. Humans dreamed of the stars, imagining the halls of the gods and the subtle hand of divine guidance in their daily lives. Through dreams, stories, and rituals, knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Civilization grew not only in numbers and skill, but in understanding, morality, and the awareness of a greater cosmic order. The first schools and libraries were established, where knowledge of the stars, rivers, crops, and gods was taught. Mathematics and astronomy advanced, medicine and healing improved, and the arts flourished under the unseen tutelage of the Anunnaki. Music, poetry, and storytelling carried both entertainment and instruction, allowing humans to internalize lessons of courage, wisdom, and balance. Trade between cities expanded, guided subtly by the gods to ensure cooperation and prosperity. Roads, canals, and markets reflected careful planning and divine insight, while human ingenuity ensured adaptability and progress. Civilization, once fragile, had become resilient, capable of facing both natural and human challenges. Yet the council of the Anunnaki remained watchful. They knew that humanity's potential was vast, and with it came both opportunity and risk. Their task was not to control but to guide, to ensure that the lessons of courage, wisdom, and balance endured, while allowing humans the freedom to shape their own destinies. And so, as night fell and the stars shimmered above the cities and rivers, humans continued to grow, to learn, and to create. Temples glowed with candlelight, scholars studied the stars, and children listened to stories of gods and heroes. The influence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil was woven into every aspect of life, subtle yet enduring, a gentle guidance shaping the unfolding tapestry of civilization. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the quiet rivers, the glowing temples, and the bustling cities. Picture the Anunnaki watching from the heavens, guiding and inspiring, ensuring that humanity continues to grow in wisdom, courage, and understanding. Feel the stories of heroes, the lessons of the gods, and the enduring spark of human potential, carrying you gently into dreams where the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. In the gentle hush of night, when the stars shimmered like silver lanterns across the heavens, humans lay in quiet reflection, feeling the rhythms of life and the whisper of something greater. The Anunnaki observed the mortal realm with deep attention, aware that physical existence was but one part of a larger tapestry. Life and death, beginnings and endings, joy and sorrow, all were threads in the grand design of creation. Enki, keeper of wisdom, watched as humans navigated their fleeting lives. "They understand so little of what lies beyond," he murmured. "Yet within them is a spark that mirrors eternity." Inanna, radiant and vibrant, smiled. It is in facing mortality that they find courage. It is in confronting the unknown that they discover their strength. Every life, every choice, every loss shapes not only the mortal soul but the tapestry of the world itself. Even Enlil, stern and vigilant, acknowledged the importance of mortality. Order is preserved through cycles. Birth and death, creation and dissolution, growth and decay, they are the pillars upon which balance rests. Humans began to reflect upon the mysteries of life and death. They noticed that when a loved one passed, memories, rituals, and stories preserved their essence. They began to wonder about the journey of the soul, about what lies beyond the veil of mortality. Temples and shrines became places not only of worship but of contemplation, spaces where mortals sought understanding and comfort. The Anunnaki guided subtly, imparting wisdom through dreams, visions, and teachings of priests and sages. Enki revealed the patterns of life, the flow of energy, and the cycles of the natural world. Inanna inspired courage and introspection, encouraging humans to embrace both the joys and sorrows of existence. Enlil reminded them that discipline, order, and respect for cosmic laws were essential to the harmony of life. It was through this divine guidance that humans began to understand the concept of rebirth. They observed the seasons, seeds sprouting in spring after the dormancy of winter, rivers rising and falling, and the sun's endless journey across the sky. From these natural cycles, they learned that life was continuous, flowing beyond the confines of a single mortal existence. Rituals arose to honor ancestors and to prepare the spirit for the journey beyond. Mortals believed that the soul, like water in a river, traveled through realms unseen, influenced by choices, intentions, and the guidance of divine beings. Through offerings, prayers, and meditative practices, humans sought to align their lives with the principles taught by the Anunnaki. Heroes, too, faced the inevitability of death. Gilgamesh, whose story had already inspired generations, came to understand that physical immortality was beyond reach, yet through deeds, knowledge, and legacy, one could touch eternity. Inanna's influence helped him recognize that courage, compassion, and wisdom were gifts that transcended mortal limitations. Enki's teachings reminded him that understanding and adaptation could preserve the essence of life, even as bodies withered and cities fell. The Anunnaki's guidance also shaped the moral development of humans. Lessons were embedded in stories, myths, and daily practices, teaching mortals to choose actions that fostered harmony, justice, and compassion. Through reflection, observation, and divine inspiration, humans began to discern the difference between selfish desire and communal responsibility, between fleeting pleasure and enduring contribution. In the quiet of night, dreams became portals for learning. Humans envisioned journeys across starry landscapes, encounters with divine beings, and the unfolding of their own destinies. These nocturnal lessons, subtle yet profound, encouraged reflection and growth, linking mortal experience to the eternal wisdom of the Anunnaki. As civilizations matured, humans incorporated these understandings into law, art, and culture. Ethical codes guided rulers and citizens alike. Festivals celebrated life and honored the departed. Stories of rebirth, of cycles, and of spiritual progression became central to the consciousness of humankind. Temples, libraries, and councils preserved both knowledge and the moral frameworks necessary for societies to thrive in harmony. The Anunnaki, ever watchful, saw the results of their guidance. Humans were learning to navigate not only the material world but the spiritual one. Courage, wisdom, and ethical conduct began to shine as guiding lights. The balance between freedom and responsibility, between ambition and humility, became the cornerstone of lasting civilization. Even in the smallest villages, the teachings of the gods resonated. Farmers, artisans, and scholars carried understanding into daily life, observing the cycles of nature and human behavior with mindful attention. Mortals came to recognize that every action, no matter how minor, contributed to the broader tapestry of life and the unseen currents shaped by divine hands. And so, as you drift into sleep, imagine the rivers flowing quietly under starlit skies, carrying the lessons of life, death, and rebirth. Picture temples illuminated by soft candlelight, heroes reflecting on their journeys, and the gentle presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil guiding each step. Feel the rhythm of existence, the flow of wisdom, and the eternal connection between mortals and gods. Let the story carry you into dreams where life and death are intertwined, where courage and morality illuminate the path, and where the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly, holding both mystery and guidance for all who listen. In the calm hours of night, when the stars glimmered like scattered jewels across the sky and the rivers reflected their silver light, the world of humans had reached a new pinnacle. Cities stretched across fertile plains, canals carried life-giving water, and temples reached heavenward, symbols of both human ambition and divine guidance. The civilization nurtured by the Anunnaki had grown resilient, wise, and creative, standing as a testament to millennia of learning, struggle, and growth. Enki, keeper of wisdom and water, observed the thriving cities with quiet satisfaction. "They have grown," he said softly, "from fragile beginnings to civilizations capable of shaping their destiny. Yet the journey is never complete. Knowledge and understanding are rivers that flow endlessly, carrying the lessons of the past into the future." Inanna, radiant and fiery, moved among the mortal world in visions and dreams. "They have learned courage, compassion, and creativity," she whispered. "They have embraced trials, faced darkness, and risen stronger. The spark of the divine within them burns brightly, and it is time for them to understand the greater patterns of existence." Enlil, ever vigilant, nodded in approval. Balance has been maintained. Their ambition has not overwhelmed order, and their wisdom has tempered recklessness. Now, they are ready to inherit the deeper truths of the cosmos, guided by the subtle hands of the Anunnaki. The final phase of divine guidance unfolded. Humans were taught advanced knowledge of the stars, mathematics, and the natural laws governing the earth. Temples became centers of scholarship and observation, where priests, astronomers and philosophers studied not only the physical world but the moral and spiritual principles underpinning existence. Legends were passed down that spoke of the Anunnaki not only as gods but as teachers, mentors, and guardians of the delicate balance between freedom and responsibility. These stories inspired leaders, heroes, and thinkers to act with both courage and wisdom, ensuring that civilization continued to flourish. The moral and spiritual dimensions of humanity were emphasized alongside technological and cultural achievements. Mortals learned to act in accordance with universal principles, guided by the interplay of Enki's wisdom, Inanna's inspiration, and Enlil's discipline. Ethics, justice, and compassion became intertwined with knowledge, art, and governance, forming the cornerstone of enduring civilization. Yet even as humans reached new heights, the Anunnaki prepared for their own transitions. Their mission had been to guide, nurture, and inspire, but not to dominate eternally. They began to withdraw gradually, leaving behind systems, teachings, and institutions that would carry their influence forward. The divine presence became subtler, woven into the fabric of the world, accessible through insight, intuition, and the study of the stars, rivers, and cycles of life. The final councils of the Anunnaki were held beneath the eternal sky. "We have fulfilled much of our purpose," Enki observed. "Humanity is capable, resilient, and guided by the principles we have instilled. It is time to allow them to continue their journey with greater independence." Inanna, with a glimmer of pride and hope, added, "Their courage and creativity reflect the divine spark. Let them continue to rise, to explore, and to understand the vastness of the universe. We have lit the flame, now they must carry it forward." Enlil, always careful and measured, concluded, "Order and balance remain. They have learned the lessons of mortality, morality, and ambition. The cycle continues. Let humanity flourish, but let them remember the guidance of the Anunnaki in all they do." As the gods withdrew into the heavens, their presence remained in subtle forms. The stars that mapped the cosmos, the rivers that sustained life, the temples that guided learning, and the stories that carried wisdom through generations. Humanity inherited not only knowledge and civilization, but also the responsibility to live in harmony with the principles that governed both mortal and divine realms. From this legacy, new epics and stories emerged. Leaders, scholars, and visionaries arose, inspired by the tales of gods and heroes. Civilizations continued to grow, guided by principles of wisdom, courage, and ethical understanding. Humanity's journey was no longer solely shaped by direct divine intervention. It was now a partnership, a reflection of both mortal effort and the enduring influence of the Anunnaki. Even in the quiet of night, the whispers of the Anunnaki echoed through dreams, meditation, and reflection. Mortals felt the guidance of the divine not as commands but as inspiration, allowing them to navigate challenges, create beauty, and seek understanding beyond the immediate world. And so, as you close your eyes and drift into sleep, imagine the rivers flowing through thriving cities, the stars illuminating the heavens, and the subtle, guiding presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil. Picture humanity standing at the pinnacle of its journey, capable of greatness, and yet ever aware of the eternal lessons carried down from the Anunnaki. Feel the rhythm of civilization, the flow of wisdom, and the spark of the divine within each soul. Let the story carry you into dreams where the world of the Anunnaki stretches endlessly, a tapestry of knowledge, courage, and cosmic balance, guiding you gently toward rest and wonder. In the quiet that followed the departure of the Anunnaki, the world felt different, alive with possibility, yet tempered by the wisdom left behind. Rivers flowed, temples stood, and cities thrived, but now humanity faced the challenge of standing on its own. Mortals had inherited knowledge, skill, and stories of courage, yet the unseen guidance of the gods was no longer immediate. It was now up to human hearts and minds to navigate the paths ahead. Enki's teachings remained embedded in the earth and in memory, like the gentle currents of a river that continue to shape the landscape. Humans remembered the principles of balance, wisdom, and harmony. They cultivated the land with care, innovated in agriculture, and expanded the reach of their civilizations. Mathematics, astronomy, and the study of the natural world continued to grow, as scholars looked to the stars for insight and guidance. Inanna's inspiration lingered in the bravery and ambition of mortals. Explorers, leaders, and visionaries dared to chart new territories, build monumental structures, and solve the mysteries of existence. Humanity was learning to act boldly, yet thoughtfully, aware that courage alone was not enough. Wisdom, ethics, and collaboration became essential tools in shaping their world. Enlil's legacy of order and discipline remained crucial. Laws were codified, social structures maintained, and communities organized. Mortals understood that freedom carried responsibility, and that growth without restraint could lead to collapse. The memory of past conflicts and divine lessons guided decisions, fostering stability alongside ambition. As cities spread, trade flourished, and ideas traveled across regions. The first great networks of communication and exchange emerged, connecting distant lands. Libraries and academies preserved knowledge, ensuring that discoveries were not lost to time. The wisdom of the Anunnaki had seeded a culture of learning, and humans now carried it forward independently. Yet mysteries remained. Questions about the stars, the cosmos, and the origins of life lingered in human hearts. Some wondered if other beings like the Anunnaki existed beyond the heavens. Explorers looked to the sky, building instruments to study celestial patterns, while philosophers and dreamers imagined the vastness of the universe. Humanity's curiosity became a new kind of quest, one that carried forward the divine inspiration they had inherited. Temples and sacred sites evolved into centers of observation and study, blending spirituality with inquiry. Mortals learned to honor the cycles of life, the flow of the rivers, and the rhythm of the seasons, understanding that the natural world carried both practical lessons and deeper truths. Rituals and stories preserved the memory of the Anunnaki, not as dominating gods, but as teachers and guides whose influence shaped the path of civilization. As generations passed, humans began to expand their understanding of morality, community, and the cosmos. They faced challenges without direct divine intervention, yet the patterns and principles instilled by the Anunnaki remained a guiding light. Courage, wisdom, and ethical behavior were no longer taught solely by gods. They were cultivated within the human spirit itself. In dreams and quiet reflection, humans still felt the lingering presence of Enki's wisdom, Inanna's inspiration, and Enlil's order. These subtle influences, no longer commanding, became a part of human intuition, guiding decisions, fostering insight and encouraging growth. Mortals began to see themselves as part of a larger cosmic tapestry, capable of shaping their destiny while honoring the patterns of creation. And so, as night fell across thriving cities and fertile lands, humans stood at the threshold of a new era. They carried forward the legacy of the Anunnaki, yet walked their own path, exploring, creating, and imagining. The rivers, the stars, and the cycles of life continue to whisper lessons of balance, courage, and wisdom, guiding humanity toward discovery, understanding, and the mysteries that lay beyond the horizon. As you close your eyes, imagine the quiet flow of rivers, the glittering expanse of the stars, and the hearts of humans filled with curiosity and courage. Picture the temples and libraries where knowledge and spirit intertwine, and feel the subtle echo of the Anunnaki guiding without interference. Let the story carry you into dreams where humanity explores its destiny, reaches for the stars, and continues the eternal journey of discovery, wisdom, and cosmic connection. In the quiet of night, as the rivers reflected the soft glow of countless stars and cities slept beneath the sky, humanity began to dream of worlds beyond their own. The knowledge passed down by the Anunnaki, subtle and profound, had awakened curiosity that no earthly limit could contain. Mortals gazed upward, imagining vast distances, celestial bodies, and the mysteries of the universe, feeling a spark of the divine inspiration that had shaped their civilization. Enki's wisdom, embedded in the patterns of rivers, the cycles of seasons, and the movements of the stars, guided their minds toward discovery. Mortals began to measure, calculate, and explore, creating instruments to map the heavens and record the movements of planets, moons, and distant stars. With each observation, they felt the resonance of something greater, an unseen hand guiding their curiosity and ensuring that knowledge flowed like water through generations. Inanna's presence remained in their courage and ambition. Explorers and visionaries dared to dream beyond the familiar, constructing devices that could reach into the sky and beyond. The spark of ingenuity that had once built cities and temples now fueled experiments, innovations, and early flights toward understanding the cosmos. Humanity was learning not only to observe the heavens but to envision their place within it. Enlil's influence ensured discipline and order in these endeavors. Projects were meticulously planned, risks measured, and discoveries recorded with care. Civilization approached the vast unknown not recklessly, but with respect and preparation. The lessons of morality, balance, and responsibility instilled by the Anunnaki were applied as humans ventured into new frontiers. The first telescopes and observational tools were crafted, allowing mortals to see planets, stars, and celestial patterns previously hidden from the naked eye. Scholars and astronomers compiled data, creating the earliest maps of the heavens, while philosophers and storytellers wove these discoveries into myths and teachings that connected the cosmos to human experience. The wisdom of the Anunnaki resonated in every calculation, every observation, and every insight. Even as humans looked outward, they remembered the lessons of life and morality imparted by their divine mentors. The knowledge of cycles, balance, and cosmic order guided them in governance, society, and personal conduct. Exploration was not merely a quest for territory or power. It was a pursuit of understanding, a reflection of the inner curiosity and courage that had been nurtured over millennia. In distant lands, Astronomers observed the patterns of eclipses, comets, and planetary movements. Their calculations informed agriculture, navigation, and civic planning, while also inspiring wonder and spiritual reflection. Humans began to perceive the vastness of existence, recognizing that their civilization was part of a much larger cosmic story, a story that had begun with the Anunnaki, whose subtle guidance continued to echo through generations. Stories of heroes, gods, and cosmic phenomena were recorded on tablets, scrolls, and murals. These narratives bridged past and present, connecting mortal ambition with divine inspiration. Humans celebrated achievements, honored discoveries, and reflected upon their place in the universe, guided by the ethical and moral framework embedded by Enki, Inanna, and Enlil. Exploration became both physical and intellectual. Philosophers speculated on the nature of the stars, the origins of life, and the existence of other beings in the vast cosmos. Artists and poets translated these visions into expression, inspiring awe, curiosity, and a deeper appreciation for the universe. Humanity's connection to the Anunnaki was no longer one of direct guidance, but of inherited wisdom, lessons, and inspiration that continued to shape thought, creativity, and ambition. As humans reached for the stars, the Anunnaki's legacy endured not as dominion but as partnership. The spark of courage, the pursuit of wisdom, and the balance of order and freedom continued to illuminate the path forward. Mortals carried forward the divine lessons, applying them in new ways, exploring new frontiers, and deepening their understanding of life, the universe, and the subtle currents that connected all things. And so, as night deepened and the stars shimmered across the heavens, imagine humanity gazing upward with wonder and determination. Picture astronomers mapping the skies, explorers dreaming of distant worlds, and every individual inspired by the courage and wisdom passed down by the Anunnaki. Let the story carry you gently into sleep, where the rivers of knowledge, the spark of curiosity, and the enduring presence of divine guidance flow endlessly, carrying humanity toward new discoveries, cosmic adventures, and the eternal journey of understanding. In the soft glow of twilight, as the rivers mirrored the last rays of the setting sun and the cities settled into evening calm, humanity continued its journey. The legacy of the Anunnaki, subtle yet profound, flowed through every thought, action, and creation. Mortals had learned courage, wisdom, and balance. They had faced trials, discovered knowledge, and ventured into the cosmos. Yet the story was not finished. It was evolving, carrying humanity toward new heights. Enki observed from afar, his eyes reflecting the constellations. They have inherited the tools of understanding, he said. Knowledge, morality, and courage now flow through their own hearts. The future is theirs to shape, yet the lessons of the past remain essential. Inanna, radiant as ever, walked among dreams. They dream of greatness, she whispered, of discovery, exploration, and creation. They remember the courage we inspired and act with hearts open to challenge and wonder. The spark of the divine within them continues to grow. Enlil, vigilant and discerning, nodded. Order, discipline, and balance endure. They have learned that freedom carries responsibility and ambition requires wisdom. Humanity stands at a threshold, capable of shaping not only their own destiny but the destiny of the world and beyond. As civilizations expanded, humans developed new technologies, arts, and philosophies. Cities rose higher, knowledge spread farther, and the understanding of the cosmos deepened. Humanity's curiosity led to innovations in science, exploration, and communication, each achievement reflecting the cumulative lessons of centuries guided by the Anunnaki. Even as mortals reached farther, they carried within them an awareness of the delicate balance between power and responsibility. Ethical frameworks, cultural traditions, and spiritual practices rooted in Anunnaki wisdom guided choices and actions. Leaders, scholars, and citizens alike learned that greatness required reflection, cooperation, and harmony with both nature and each other. The influence of the Anunnaki was not in dominance, but in inspiration. Their teachings had seeded curiosity, morality, and understanding. Humans applied these lessons in new contexts, facing challenges without direct divine intervention yet guided by intuition, inherited wisdom, and the patterns embedded in nature. Exploration of the cosmos became a metaphor and a reality. Astronomers, scientists, and philosophers looked to the heavens, imagining distant worlds and charting new frontiers. The cycles of life, death, and rebirth observed on Earth guided understanding of existence beyond their planet. Humanity's journey reflected the enduring lessons of the Anunnaki: courage, balance, wisdom, and the recognition of the vast, interconnected universe. Stories, myths, and histories continued to preserve the memory of divine guidance. Temples, libraries, and observatories became sanctuaries of knowledge, creativity, and reflection. Humans celebrated heroes, learned from their ancestors, and passed wisdom to future generations, ensuring that the principles of courage, morality, and curiosity endured. Even in the quietest moments, dreams carried subtle guidance. Individuals felt inspiration, courage, and insight as whispers of the Anunnaki resonated within them. Mortals realized that while gods no longer walked openly among them, their presence endured in the patterns of life, the cycles of the universe, and the spark of potential in every human soul. As humanity expanded across lands and into the skies, the moral and spiritual lessons embedded by the Anunnaki remained central. Societies learned to live in harmony with natural laws, respect one another, and pursue knowledge with humility. The achievements of technology, exploration, and culture were balanced by ethics, reflection, and responsibility, a synthesis of mortal ingenuity and divine guidance. Enki, Inanna, and Enlil watched with quiet pride. The world they had nurtured, guided, and inspired was now capable of evolving independently. Mortals had absorbed courage, wisdom, and the understanding of balance. They were ready to navigate challenges, create, and explore with hearts and minds attuned to both the material and spiritual realms. And so, as you drift into sleep, imagine the stars stretching endlessly above thriving cities, rivers, and forests. Picture humanity standing at the edge of discovery, carrying the lessons of the Anunnaki in every choice, action, and dream. Feel the subtle guidance that continues to flow through intuition, morality, and curiosity. Let the story carry you gently into dreams where civilization grows, exploration unfolds, and the eternal presence of the Anunnaki inspires courage, wisdom, and wonder in every heart. In the silent hours of night, under the vast expanse of glittering stars, humanity began to sense a greater connection, a thread that tied them to the universe itself. The guidance of the Anunnaki, subtle yet enduring, had nurtured curiosity, courage, and wisdom. Now, as mortals reached beyond the familiar landscapes of Earth, they felt the resonance of something eternal, a cosmic symphony that invited exploration, understanding, and creation. Enki observed quietly, his presence like the gentle flow of a river shaping life with unseen currents. They have inherited the knowledge of cycles, balance, and the patterns of life, he murmured. Now they begin to understand that existence extends far beyond their own world. The universe speaks to them, and they are ready to listen. Inanna, radiant with light and energy, walked among the dreams of mortals. "They carry courage within them," she whispered. "The spark we ignited continues to burn. With imagination and determination, they reach for the stars, not just to conquer, but to understand, to create, and to harmonize with the cosmic flow." Enlil, ever vigilant and wise, nodded in approval. Order and discipline are essential. As humans explore beyond Earth, they must balance curiosity with responsibility, ambition with respect, and freedom with understanding. Only then can they embrace the vastness of the cosmos without losing the wisdom of their origins. Humanity's first journeys into the stars were humble: telescopes, observatories, and early space expeditions. Yet these endeavors carried the weight of millennia of wisdom, courage, and guidance. Mortals observed celestial patterns, measured cosmic phenomena, and pondered the mysteries of existence beyond their home planet. In every observation, they felt the echo of the Anunnaki's teachings, the importance of balance, foresight, and the subtle hand of guidance. New philosophies emerged, blending science, art, and spirituality. Humans began to see themselves as part of a vast cosmic web, interconnected with distant worlds and the cycles of the universe. Temples and observatories became sanctuaries of learning, creativity, and reflection, where knowledge and inspiration flowed together, bridging mortal insight with the enduring legacy of the Anunnaki. Art, music, and literature reflected these cosmic connections. Mortals expressed wonder, curiosity, and reverence for the universe through stories, symphonies, and visual creations. Each act of creation mirrored the divine spark within, a reflection of the wisdom, courage, and inspiration that the Anunnaki had nurtured for generations. Human civilization continued to expand, exploring new frontiers, yet always mindful of ethical and moral responsibility. The principles of balance, justice, and compassion, instilled by the Anunnaki, guided decisions, shaping societies that could thrive while respecting the interconnectedness of life and the universe. Leadership, innovation, and community were inspired by both inherited wisdom and human ingenuity. Even in the quiet moments, the influence of the Anunnaki persisted. Dreams, intuition, and insight carried guidance across generations. Mortals felt inspiration not as direct commands, but as subtle encouragement to pursue understanding, creativity, and harmony with the cosmos. Humanity began to perceive its role not as masters of the universe, but as participants in a grand, interconnected tapestry of life, energy, and knowledge. Explorers traveled beyond Earth, mapping planets, stars, and distant systems. They built technologies to communicate across vast distances, while philosophers and scientists contemplated the deeper patterns of existence. Humanity's cosmic journey reflected the enduring lessons of courage, balance, and wisdom, showing that mortals could embrace both independence and responsibility. Legends of the Anunnaki became a foundation for morality, inspiration, and creativity. Their stories were embedded in education, rituals, and art, reminding humanity that wisdom, courage, and ethical conduct were as vital as technological advancement. Mortals honored this legacy, building a civilization that celebrated discovery, creativity, and cosmic awareness while remaining grounded in the principles of their divine mentors. And so, as night deepened and stars shimmered across the sky, imagine humanity reaching outward, inspired by courage, guided by wisdom, and connected by an unseen thread to the eternal presence of the Anunnaki. Picture cities and observatories, explorers and scholars, artists and dreamers, all weaving the legacy of divine guidance into the fabric of life. Let the story carry you gently into sleep, where humanity's journey continues among the stars, carrying the eternal spark of the Anunnaki, a legacy of wisdom, courage, and cosmic harmony that flows endlessly across time and space. Under the velvet blanket of night, with stars stretching endlessly across the sky and rivers glinting softly in their quiet flow, humanity reached a moment of unprecedented harmony. Civilizations had matured, knowledge had expanded, and the lessons of courage, balance, and wisdom, inherited from the Anunnaki, had become deeply embedded in mortal consciousness. The world of humans and the vast cosmos seemed to converge, offering a vision of unity that transcended time, space, and the limitations of earthly existence. Enki, the eternal keeper of wisdom, observed with quiet pride. They have learned to weave knowledge with understanding, courage with reflection, and ambition with responsibility, he murmured. Now, humanity stands at the threshold of a cosmic awakening, where their potential stretches far beyond the boundaries of their world. Inanna, radiant and dynamic, moved through the dreams of mortals. They dream of harmony, connection, and creation, she whispered. The spark of the divine within them burns brighter than ever. They are learning not only to reach outward but also to understand the delicate threads that connect all life, all energy, and all consciousness across the universe. Enlil, ever vigilant and wise, nodded in agreement. Order and balance remain essential, he said. The expansion of human consciousness and civilization must honor both the principles of the material world and the subtle currents of cosmic harmony. This is the culmination of the lessons we have imparted. In cities across the world, knowledge and spirituality blended seamlessly. Observatories, temples, libraries, and universities became hubs where science and ethics, creativity and philosophy, technology and morality converged. Humans understood that mastery over the material world alone was incomplete. It was the union of insight, compassion, and wisdom that led to true advancement. The Anunnaki's legacy was evident in every act of creation, discovery, and reflection. Humans had learned to balance ambition with humility, independence with cooperation, and exploration with reverence. They saw themselves as participants in a greater cosmic web, where every action, every decision, and every thought had ripples that extended beyond the immediate world. Exploration of the stars became both practical and spiritual. Humans reached distant worlds, studied celestial phenomena, and even imagined connections with life beyond their own planet. The lessons of the Anunnaki, the careful observation of cycles, the integration of knowledge with ethics, and the courage to face the unknown guided every endeavor. Art, literature, music, and philosophy flourished, reflecting the intertwined journey of mortals and the divine inspiration they had received. Creators drew from the stories of heroes, the patterns of the universe, and the ethical frameworks embedded by the Anunnaki. Every expression became a testament to the unity of knowledge, spirit, and cosmic awareness. Even in the smallest acts of daily life, humans reflected the enduring influence of their divine mentors. Communities thrived on cooperation, justice, and shared responsibility. Leaders governed with wisdom and compassion, informed by the subtle lessons of balance and morality. Families, educators, and scholars nurtured curiosity, courage, and ethical reflection, ensuring that each generation carried forward the luminous thread of guidance. Through dreams, meditation, and introspection, mortals felt the gentle presence of the Anunnaki, not as overseers, but as eternal inspirations. Their guidance flowed through intuition, insight, and the ethical frameworks that had been nurtured over millennia. Humanity learned to navigate the universe with confidence, creativity, and a profound sense of connection to all that existed. As the centuries passed, the unity of human civilization and its cosmic awareness reached new heights. Societies collaborated across continents and stars, sharing knowledge, culture, and technology. Philosophers and scientists contemplated the nature of consciousness, the fabric of reality, and the intricate web connecting life on Earth to the greater cosmos. Every discovery, every innovation, and every story carried echoes of the Anunnaki's wisdom. The Anunnaki, though no longer walking openly among mortals, remained eternally present in subtle ways. Their teachings, principles, and inspiration had become inseparable from the human spirit. Courage, balance, wisdom, and ethical insight were no longer gifts granted externally. They had become internalized, forming the foundation of every thought, action, and aspiration. And so, as night envelopes the world and stars shimmer across infinite horizons, imagine humanity standing in harmony with the universe. Picture explorers gazing at distant galaxies, scholars unraveling the mysteries of existence, and every individual acting with courage, wisdom, and compassion. Feel the subtle, enduring presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil guiding hearts and minds, a legacy that flows endlessly through time, space, and the ever-expanding story of life. As you drift into sleep, let this vision carry you gently. The unity of civilization, the cosmic connections that bind all life, and the eternal influence of the Anunnaki. Every breath, every dream, and every thought becomes part of a vast, harmonious tapestry, a testament to courage, wisdom, balance, and the limitless potential of humanity. As night wrapped the earth in a soft, silvery calm, humanity began to step into a new chapter of its cosmic journey. The civilizations that had flourished on rivers and plains, guided subtly by the Anunnaki, now turned their eyes toward the stars with both curiosity and reverence. Knowledge, courage, and wisdom, once taught directly, had become part of the human spirit, empowering mortals to act with insight, creativity, and balance. Enki, with a gentle ripple of thought, observed the thriving civilizations. They have learned the patterns of life and the universe. They understand cycles, balance, and the harmony of existence. Now they are ready to take responsibility not only for their own world, but for their place within the greater cosmos. Inanna moved through dreams like a shimmering light. The spark within them has grown into a steady flame, she whispered. They explore not only outward, to the stars, but inward, into the depths of understanding, creativity, and consciousness. Their courage guides them, their wisdom steadies them, and their curiosity drives them forward. Enlil, calm and measured, nodded. Order and discipline must remain the foundation. As humans extend their reach across planets, systems, and even galaxies, they must carry the lessons of morality, responsibility, and balance. Freedom without guidance can lead to chaos. Wisdom without action is incomplete. Humanity must integrate all they have learned. Across Earth, new technologies blossomed, enabling humans to travel farther into space, study distant worlds, and communicate across vast distances. Cities became interconnected with systems of knowledge, art, and observation. Libraries and observatories flourished as centers of learning and innovation, blending science, spirituality, and ethics into one cohesive understanding. The influence of the Anunnaki remained subtle, yet enduring. Every calculation, every exploration, every moral decision carried echoes of their teachings. Mortals had internalized the principles of courage, responsibility, and balance. They created not only tools and machines, but philosophies and ethical frameworks that would guide their descendants through centuries of progress. Explorers and visionaries traveled to new worlds, discovering planets, studying celestial phenomena, and imagining the possibilities of life beyond Earth. They carried with them the knowledge of cycles, interconnectedness, and morality, ensuring that every step of exploration was guided not only by ambition but also by insight and compassion. Art, literature, and music reflected this new phase of human consciousness. Creators translated the vastness of space, the mysteries of life, and the lessons of the Anunnaki into forms that inspired wonder and reflection. Every story, every melody, every visual work became a testament to humanity's growth and connection to the cosmos. Even in ordinary life, humans applied the principles of courage, balance, and wisdom. Communities thrived on cooperation, justice, and shared responsibility. Leaders acted with foresight and empathy, guided by internalized lessons from the Anunnaki. Families, educators, and mentors nurtured creativity, morality, and curiosity, ensuring that each generation would carry forward the eternal spark of guidance. The Anunnaki's legacy extended into dreams and intuition, inspiring humans to act with insight and courage. Mortals felt a subtle resonance in moments of decision, creativity, or reflection, a gentle reminder of the patterns and principles instilled across millennia. Humanity began to recognize that they were not separate from the cosmos. They were an integral part of its unfolding narrative. As humans ventured further into space, the ethical and spiritual principles of the Anunnaki guided interactions, ensuring cooperation, understanding, and respect for life in all forms. The lessons of the past, courage, wisdom, balance, and responsibility, remained essential as civilization expanded beyond the confines of Earth. And so, as night deepened and stars shimmered across the sky, imagine humanity reaching into the cosmos with curiosity, courage, and wisdom. Picture explorers charting new worlds, scholars unraveling cosmic mysteries, and individuals acting with insight and compassion. Feel the subtle presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil inspiring each thought, decision, and creation. Let the story carry you gently into sleep, where humanity's journey continues, guided by timeless principles, cosmic connection, and the enduring spark of the Anunnaki. As night embraced the earth in a gentle silence, humanity stood at a threshold unlike any before. Millennia of learning, courage, and exploration had woven a tapestry of civilizations, knowledge, and wisdom. The Anunnaki's subtle guidance had long since faded into the collective consciousness, yet their legacy remained embedded in every thought, action, and creation. Now, humans were ready to unify their understanding, their spirit, and their reach across the cosmos. Enki's voice, like the gentle murmur of rivers, resonated across dreams. They have mastered knowledge, embraced morality, and nurtured courage. The next step is integration, not domination, but connection. Humanity must harmonize its civilizations, its technology, and its hearts with the rhythms of the cosmos. Inanna shimmered like a rising star, filling dreams with light and possibility. The spark within humans has grown into a radiant flame. They explore not only the heavens but the depths of consciousness, creativity, and spirit. They are ready to embrace unity, cosmic, social, and spiritual. Enlil, serene and wise, nodded. Order and balance remain essential. Integration must honor ethics, responsibility, and insight. The civilizations of Earth and the expanding reach into space require harmony between knowledge and morality, freedom and guidance. Across Earth, humanity had established networks of shared knowledge, collaboration, and ethical governance. Cities, space stations, and observatories were interconnected in unprecedented ways, forming a web of civilization that spanned continents and planetary systems. Communication, trade, culture, and science flowed freely, guided by principles of balance and ethical stewardship. Explorers reached new worlds, mapping planets and stars, establishing colonies that mirrored the values of their home civilization. Every decision, from resource management to interstellar diplomacy, was influenced by the lessons of the Anunnaki: courage tempered by wisdom, freedom balanced with responsibility, and ambition guided by ethics. Art, philosophy, and spirituality flourished, reflecting the unity of thought and culture. Humans shared stories, music, and knowledge across vast distances, fostering understanding, empathy, and cooperation. Every creation carried the echo of divine guidance, not as command, but as inspiration, a reminder of the enduring principles that had shaped the journey of humanity. In dreams and meditation, individuals felt subtle guidance. The Anunnaki's presence was no longer external. It flowed through intuition, moral reasoning, and creative insight. Mortals realized that the universe was not a distant mystery but a living network, connected through cycles, consciousness, and energy patterns that resonated with every action and thought. The ultimate integration extended beyond Earth. Humans reached other planetary systems, fostering peaceful cooperation, shared knowledge, and ethical exploration. Societies across planets collaborated to maintain harmony, manage resources, and advance science, art, and philosophy. The principles of courage, balance, and wisdom, gifts from the Anunnaki, guided every step. Even the smallest acts reflected the cosmic integration. Communities practiced empathy and justice, Leaders acted with foresight and compassion, and educators nurtured creativity, knowledge, and ethical reasoning. Humanity had internalized the lessons of the past, and every choice became part of a vast, interconnected tapestry spanning worlds and stars. The Anunnaki, though no longer visible, remained eternally present in influence. Their teachings of courage, wisdom, ethical conduct, and balance were now intrinsic to human civilization. Mortals were no longer dependent on divine intervention. They had absorbed the principles, making them their own. Humanity had become a reflection of the Anunnaki's vision: intelligent, courageous, ethical, and capable of harmony across cosmic scales. As the stars shimmered above, imagine humanity unified with the universe, explorers charting galaxies, scholars unraveling cosmic mysteries, artists and creators inspiring wonder, and societies thriving in ethical balance. Feel the subtle, guiding presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil flowing through thoughts, dreams, and creations. Let the story carry you into sleep, where humanity reaches the pinnacle of cosmic integration, living in harmony with the universe, carrying forward the eternal spark of the Anunnaki, and embracing the infinite possibilities of wisdom, courage, and cosmic unity. As night enveloped the earth in a serene embrace, humanity had reached a new understanding of its place in the cosmos. Millennia of learning, exploration, and reflection had woven together civilizations, knowledge, and dreams into a luminous tapestry. The Anunnaki's subtle guidance, once direct, had become intrinsic, flowing within human hearts, intuition, and creativity. Humanity was no longer guided externally. It carried the lessons of courage, balance, and wisdom within itself. Enki observed quietly, like the gentle current of a river shaping life over time. They have absorbed the teachings, embraced the challenges, and illuminated the path of civilization. He whispered, "The journey is eternal. Every thought, every dream, every act of creativity continues the legacy." Inanna shimmered across the dreams of mortals, filling them with wonder and inspiration. The spark we ignited now glows as a radiant flame within them, she murmured. They explore not only the universe but the depths of consciousness and spirit. Courage, creativity, and curiosity guide their every step. The eternal journey is theirs to navigate. Enlil, calm and steadfast, nodded. Order, balance, and responsibility endure. Freedom is tempered with insight, ambition guided by ethics. Humanity now moves forward as co-creators with the cosmos, shaping not only their own destiny but the harmony of countless worlds. Across Earth and beyond, humans cultivated knowledge, art, science, and philosophy. Observatories traced the motions of stars, scholars pondered the nature of consciousness, and artists wove cosmic inspiration into music, literature, and visual expression. Every creation reflected the guidance of the Anunnaki, not as command, but as eternal inspiration, reminding mortals of courage, wisdom, and ethical responsibility. Humanity's connection to the cosmos deepened. They perceived life, energy, and consciousness as interconnected. The cycles of nature, the patterns of the universe, and the rhythm of civilizations all resonated with a harmonious order. Mortals realized that every choice, every action, and every creation rippled through the tapestry of existence. Even in the quietest moments, dreams carried guidance. The Anunnaki's presence flowed subtly through intuition, insight, and moral reasoning. Humans felt inspired to act with compassion, courage, and wisdom. Exploration, innovation, and creation were not mere achievements. They were expressions of an eternal partnership with the principles of balance, harmony, and cosmic connection. Societies across planets, stars, and systems thrived in unity. Ethical governance, cooperation, and shared knowledge created civilizations that reflected the highest ideals. Humanity had internalized the Anunnaki's lessons, becoming a beacon of courage, wisdom, and responsibility across the universe. Art and culture flourished as humans expressed their connection to the cosmos. Music echoed the patterns of stars, literature traced the cycles of life, and visual art reflected the infinite possibilities of existence. Creativity became both an exploration of the universe and a reflection of the divine spark within every soul. The final reflection of the Anunnaki's influence was subtle yet eternal. Courage, wisdom, balance, and ethical insight flowed through generations, ensuring that humanity could navigate challenges, celebrate achievements, and explore the cosmos with humility and wonder. Mortals were co-creators of their destiny, guided by principles woven into the fabric of life itself. And so, as night deepened and the stars shimmered endlessly, imagine humanity drifting into sleep alongside the eternal rhythm of the universe. Picture explorers charting distant galaxies, scholars discovering cosmic truths, artists painting the wonders of life, and every individual carrying courage, insight, and harmony within. Feel the subtle, guiding presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil flowing through thought, dream, and creation. Let their eternal lessons of balance, wisdom, and courage carry you gently into sleep, where the story of the Anunnaki continues, not as a tale of gods and mortals, but as the eternal journey of consciousness, curiosity, and cosmic harmony. Drift into dreams where humanity, the cosmos, and the eternal principles of the Anunnaki flow together in an endless tapestry, a story without end, a legacy without boundary, a journey into the infinite. And in this final dream, find rest, wonder, and the quiet certainty that the spark of courage and wisdom will continue forever. As the quiet of night settled over Earth, humanity had already traversed millennia of growth, learning, and exploration. Cities had thrived, knowledge had expanded, and the subtle lessons of the Anunnaki had become internalized within human hearts. Yet the journey was far from complete. A new era beckoned, an age of cosmic consciousness, where mortals would not only explore the stars but also awaken to the interconnected web of life, energy, and thought that stretched across the universe. Enki's presence, like a gentle river of wisdom, flowed through dreams and reflections. "They have inherited knowledge and courage," he whispered, "but now they must learn the unity of mind, spirit, and cosmos. Understanding is no longer just discovery. It is perception of the patterns that bind existence." Inanna shimmered with radiant light, weaving through the dreams of mortals. "The spark within humans has become a flame," she murmured. "They are learning to feel the rhythm of life, to sense the energy of distant stars, and to connect with consciousness beyond their own. Courage and curiosity guide them, and creativity allows them to resonate with the universe." Enlil, calm and discerning, added, "Order, balance, and ethical insight remain essential. Cosmic consciousness is not power, It is responsibility. Humanity must navigate the interconnected web with care, respecting life, energy, and knowledge as they reach toward new realms of understanding. Across the Earth and in orbital colonies, humans develop technologies and practices to extend perception beyond the physical. Meditation, observation, and creative expression became tools for exploring the threads that linked life, energy, and consciousness. They began to perceive connections across planets, stars, and even distant galaxies, sensing patterns that transcended time and space. Civilizations across worlds practiced shared wisdom and ethical collaboration. Knowledge, culture, and art flowed seamlessly between societies, fostering empathy, understanding, and cosmic harmony. Humans were no longer isolated beings. They were nodes in an expansive network of consciousness, each thought and action influencing the greater tapestry of existence. Art, music, and literature reflected this awakening. Composers created symphonies that echoed the patterns of the cosmos. Painters depicted the rhythm of planetary orbits, and storytellers wove tales that celebrated the unity of life, knowledge, and spirit. Every creation became a meditation, an exploration, and a bridge between human consciousness and cosmic awareness. Even in ordinary life, the principles of the Anunnaki guided actions and choices. Communities operated with empathy, leaders acted with foresight and integrity, and educators nurtured the internal growth of courage, wisdom, and creativity. Humanity internalized the lessons of balance, ethics, and cosmic responsibility, making them part of everyday existence. Exploration expanded beyond mere physical travel. Humans tapped into energy networks, observed subtle phenomena, and developed understanding of consciousness as a force connecting life across the universe. The Anunnaki's legacy, courage, wisdom, balance, and ethical guidance continued to inform these pursuits, ensuring that humanity evolved responsibly and harmoniously. As the stars glimmered above, mortals felt a resonance, a whisper of connection that transcended space and time. They sensed that every thought, every act of creation, and every moment of insight rippled through the cosmic web, linking worlds, civilizations, and consciousness itself. Humanity's journey had become a dance with the universe, a co-creation guided by lessons from the Anunnaki and the inherent spark of the divine within. And so, as night deepened and the soft glow of distant stars illuminated the sleeping earth, imagine humanity embracing cosmic consciousness, explorers mapping the energy of stars, scholars perceiving patterns of thought and life, and creators expressing the unity of existence in every melody, image, and word. Feel the subtle presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil, flowing not as commands but as inspiration, guiding thought, action, and reflection. Let the story carry you gently into sleep, where humanity, the cosmos, and the eternal principles of the Anunnaki converge in an endless tapestry, an infinite journey of courage, wisdom, creativity, and cosmic harmony. Under the tranquil night sky, where stars stretched endlessly across the universe and rivers mirrored the silver glow, humanity had arrived at the pinnacle of its journey. Millennia of learning, exploration, and reflection had shaped civilizations that thrived in harmony with knowledge, ethics, and creativity. The Anunnaki's guidance, once direct and commanding, had become a quiet current flowing within every human heart, intuition, and dream. Humanity had inherited courage, wisdom, and balance, not as gifts to depend upon, but as qualities cultivated and refined within themselves. Enki's voice, like a gentle river flowing through time, whispered into the dreams of mortals. They have embraced knowledge, courage, and the patterns of life. They understand cycles, connections, and the harmony of existence. Their journey is endless, and each thought, each act, and each dream continues the eternal legacy. Inanna, radiant and vibrant, shimmered through the imagination of every dreamer. The spark we ignited is now an eternal flame. Humanity feels the rhythm of the stars, senses the harmony of life, and perceives the delicate threads connecting all consciousness. Creativity, courage, and curiosity guide them as they navigate the universe with wonder and care. Enlil, calm, measured, and eternal, added, order, balance, and ethical insight are their compass. Freedom is balanced with responsibility, ambition guided by morality. Humanity now moves through the cosmos not as masters, but as co-creators in an infinite network of life, energy, and consciousness. Across planets and galaxies, humans continued to explore, innovate, and create. Observatories traced celestial rhythms, scholars unraveled the mysteries of consciousness, and artists expressed the infinite beauty of existence. Every creation was a reflection of the divine spark within, an echo of the Anunnaki's eternal lessons. The legacy of the Anunnaki was now woven into the very fabric of human civilization. Courage, wisdom, balance, and ethical insight guided decision-making, inspired creation, and nurtured communities. Mortals acted with foresight and compassion, understanding that every choice resonated far beyond their immediate world. Even in quiet reflection, humans felt the subtle presence of their ancient teachers. The lessons of the Anunnaki flowed through intuition, inspiration, and moral reasoning. Humanity had learned to navigate the cosmos responsibly, harmoniously, and creatively, internalizing what was once external guidance and transforming it into enduring, living wisdom. Civilizations across worlds collaborated in harmony, sharing knowledge, art, and culture. Ethical frameworks guided interactions, exploration, and governance. Communities thrived in balance, fostering innovation, empathy, and creativity. Humanity had become a reflection of the Anunnaki's vision: intelligent, courageous, ethical, and deeply connected to the cosmos. Art, music, literature, and philosophy became expressions of cosmic unity. Composers translated celestial patterns into symphonies, painters captured the energy of distant worlds, and storytellers wove epics connecting consciousness, life, and the universe. Every act of creation resonated with the timeless principles of courage, wisdom, and harmony. Even the smallest acts of kindness, reflection, and creativity became part of the infinite tapestry of existence. Humanity understood that life was not merely to be lived, but to be experienced with awareness, courage, and compassion. The threads of the past, the spark of the present, and the potential of the future intertwined, forming a luminous continuum of growth and understanding. And so, as night deepened, imagine humanity drifting into sleep beneath the endless expanse of stars. Picture explorers reaching for distant galaxies, scholars contemplating the fabric of reality, artists expressing the infinite, and every human heart carrying courage, wisdom, and balance. Feel the gentle presence of Enki, Inanna, and Enlil, not as rulers, but as eternal inspiration flowing through every dream, thought, and creation. Let the story carry you into a deep, restful sleep, where humanity, the cosmos, and the eternal lessons of the Anunnaki converge in an infinite tapestry, a journey without end, a legacy without boundary, a dream without conclusion. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine the endless possibilities of life, consciousness, and creation, guided always by the spark of courage, wisdom, and cosmic harmony that the Anunnaki seeded within the hearts of mortals. Drift into sleep, where every dream is a continuation of this eternal journey. And now, our journey with the Anunnaki comes to a gentle close. Through stars and civilizations, courage and wisdom, humanity has learned, grown, and embraced the eternal legacy of these ancient guides. But remember, the story does not truly end. Every dream, every thought, every heartbeat carries forward the spark of knowledge, courage, and cosmic connection that the Anunnaki once seeded in the hearts of mortals. Let your mind drift, let your body relax, and let the universe carry you into deep, peaceful sleep. If you enjoyed this journey, gently like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to discover more timeless stories to fall asleep to. Good night, and may your dreams carry you among the stars, where every story is infinite, and every heart is connected to the eternal.